So, for those that don't know, Nelson Peltz waged a proxy war with Disney for about a year. He started it last year, came back in this year. He sold all of his Disney stock after he lost, and he profited $1 billion.
Yep.
Pretty crazy. So basically, I mean, the ultimate losers here are the Disney investors. So Nelson Peltz reportedly sold all of his Disney stock, earning $1 billion after losing the proxy fight. And if we look, I mean,
it's not down that much.
No, it is. No, it is.
Oh, yeah. Over the past month,
yeah,
almost 10%.
It's hovering around the $100, $101 mark. 6 months. So this is when he lost. And then it's just gone down. This is when they had that earnings call.
Yeah.
And then it's just cratered ever since.
See, I thought we would have gotten a drop like that when he sold it all. That's kind of what I was referring to. I figured it would be a lot bigger of a drop off.
I agree. I do agree. But I think, and Bo, you can correct me. This is just my sort of brief, sort of thoughts on it all. Is I think what's happened now is just the market's kind of generally stabilized. Like Disney stock, that's just what it is. It is about the $100 mark. Like I don't think it's, you have little people buying and selling. It's just going to hover around that. It's very clear that Wall Street and the markets themselves are not valuing Disney as a pretty, worthwhile investment. It's not going up any higher. There's no big players coming in. It's just little players. $100. That's kind of it, really. I mean, thoughts on this?
I suspect it's still overvalued. Can we look at the 5-year and then the max? 5 years. So, okay, but then show us the max.
The max was under Chapek.
There you go. So, yeah. I would suggest it's still overvalued, perhaps not by a massive amount. But I would suspect it's still a bit high. If you're looking to get into the market with Disney, you're just going to buy stock. If you don't hold any Disney and you want to buy some, now's probably not the time. I'd wait for it to go lower still. That's my feeling. There's this. You might have heard of Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett, one of the greatest all-time value investors. It's quite a simple investment philosophy, really. You look for a stock if you're interested in equities. You look for a company, a stock, which is undervalued. It's as simple as that. Whatever their intrinsic value is, or whatever you think it is, and their stock price is significantly below that, buy it. And then hold on to it for dear life. Diamond hands it for decades. It's pretty much as simple as that. There's not a fantastic amount more to it than that. Now, if you look at Disney through that lens, now's not really probably the time to buy it, right? If you look back only in 2010 odd, it was significantly lower than it is now. And 2010 is not that long ago, really, in the scheme of things.
No, true.
So, my feeling is that it's still overvalued.
Yeah. Well, so back to the sort of Nelson Peltz situation. So basically what it is, Nelson Peltz cashed out his shares, of Disney shortly after he lost. And if we're looking at that 6 months, that could quite possibly be here. Because that was when he lost. It would be around this time. And so he caused that crash. He sold it. He could even be here.
See, right? I thought that he had just sold it like just the other day.
No, he sold it when it was at 120. So it is around here. It's literally between the 2nd and 3rd of April. He quite literally, the day he lost, he would have had to have sold it straight away to do what they say here. So Peltz sold all of his stock at close to $120 a share. So he's the reason. That's why it started to go down. He would have sold it.
Okay, well that makes more sense.
Why it went down? It went down anyway. I reckon it's probably on the 3rd there, because he couldn't have done it on the 2nd. Well, I mean, he could have, but unlikely. I reckon it'd be on the 3rd.
Yeah, that would be my guess too. I like I said, he bailed probably when he was in the midst of an interview. And after that, I think he probably walked off of Jim Cramer's show and said, "Get out."
Yeah, and so he made apparently $1 billion on the sale.
Yeah.
So that would
The U.S.
indicate that Peltz
government
sold
will
all the
take
shares.
about 35% of that.
Hard to say. Depends on because his balance sheet at the end of the year is going to be the thing that they trade on or they tax on. So
yeah. But yeah, as this article notes from Variety, Peltz sold the shares in the days immediately after the April 3rd Disney shareholder meeting, where his bid to shake up Disney's board was soundly defeated. A rep for Tran Partners, the hedge fund headed by Peltz, declined to comment. Disney did not immediately respond. I mean, look, they voted this. They wanted it. They got it. Bob Iger may have won, but I mean, the investors have lost. They've lost. I mean, you voted for this. You wanted it.
Yeah.
The market doesn't think that Bob Iger is the guy to, lead Disney moving forwards. And the only one laughing here, the only one that actually won anything out of any of this was Nelson Peltz. $1 billion. That's a nice pay packet. $1 billion. Yes, all right, isn't it? Just, yeah. And the thing is, what's funny here is he said, we'll be watching. Now it's started to go down again. Again, he's pocketed the $1 billion. What's stopping him from just buying it all up again when it crashes even lower?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bo and Culture. You guys might know this, but stock buying and selling stock is not the same as crypto. You can't just sell a stock and then just turn around and buy it, or buy it and then just turn around and sell it. I mean, isn't there like a waiting period, or you get a penalty if you do that or something?
It all depends. It all depends. So there's people that are called high net worth individuals, or sometimes you might get yourself designated, or your trading company, you might get yourself designated as what they'll call an institutional investor. Now the rules are just completely different for those people compared to just a normal person like you or I. Even if you've got quite a lot of money, even if you've got a few million to play with, if you're just a normal person with a normal personal trading account and stuff, there's just completely different rules for high net worth individuals and institutional investors, so called. If you're an institutional investor and you're trading through a company or something more like that, then that you can do not anything you like, of course, but there'll be a lot less restriction. There'll even be different types of the stock. If you're just a completely normal person, just on your phone, buying and selling $100 worth of Disney, you'll probably actually be playing around with a different type of stock to what a institutional investor who's buying or selling blocks of 50 million at a time. It's just a completely different ball game, and it's really not fair. It's really not fair. It's all, like a casino. It's all stacked towards the house essentially winning, or it's all stacked in favor of big whales,
hedge funds.
Yeah. If you're a fund, if you're a hedge fund, if you're another bank, all these sorts of things, it's all stacked in their favor, really.
Yeah. Andre, do you want to chime in on any of this? You're a money man. You understand this
Absolutely. Stuff. Sorry, I'm late. First of all, I agree with everything that has been said so far. Greetings, Bo. Pleasure to see you. Hello. First time I'm on stream with you. But yeah, no, I just want to take a moment to appreciate just how good a timing Nelson Peltz had here, because he would have sold when the share price was at 120 approximately, which is where it was right after that shareholder meeting, and then it collapsed, went down 10% right away. I remember I was thinking at the time, whoa, that is one big loss, because the company was quite literally decimated. Now, was all of that due to the market's lack of confidence in Bob Iger, or could it have been something else? Like I speculated on the time that probably a lot of people are selling their shares in Disney right now, since there's no need to shore them up for the proxy battle anymore. Of course, I didn't think it was Nelson Peltz doing it, but of course, I mean, he has, I don't know how many, basically he had like $2 or $3 billion worth of shares which were then instantly pumped into the market. Of course, that is going to change the share price when the availability of Disney shares increases by that much in a moment. Now, of course, we don't know if he sold everything right away or over several days, but let's just assume it was all done right away. The really amazing thing here for him is that was the height. That was as high as the share price is going to be for a while. Look at the share price right now, $101. I don't remember exactly at what level where Nelson Peltz bought it, because he bought at different time periods. I think that he bought in first time when it was down in the 80s, but then he bought much more at a later time. I think he bought like a really big chunk when it was around $100, which is right around where it is right now. If he actually did sell today or yesterday, he would have made peanuts. Instead, by selling out when he did, he actually netted his Trian group $1 billion in profit. And the thing to remember here is that Nelson Peltz is an activist investor, but that doesn't mean that he wanted to go and change Disney for the sake of changing Disney. He first and foremost represents the Trian group, and his job is to create value for the Trian group. And he has done that. That's why he's a shareholder investor. He recognizes here there's an undervalued share. This is a mismanaged company. I can go in, invest on behalf of the Trian group, fix the company, get the share price up to where it's supposed to be, get the hell out, and net a tidy profit for my clients in the meantime. That's kind of like what he's doing, and he did that here as well. Now, I think that his goal, of course, was probably to make much more than $1 billion. I think he wanted to get the share price up to 200 and more. And if he had done that, I mean, that would have been a multiple billion-dollar cash out. So I do believe that he's probably a little bit disappointed with this, if we're completely honest. I mean, it's a win. He created profit for his shareholders, but he probably imagined creating much, much more. Beauty here, though, is he can still do it. All he has to do right now he's out of the Disney brand. He can just sit there on the sidelines and watch as Bob Iger crashes it even further into the ground. And as you were saying, ain't nothing preventing him from going back in a few months from now, even next year, right around the time for the next shareholder vote meeting, and get a few other millions worth of shares. Maybe they'll be down to like 70, 80 again. And then if he can just get it back up to 100, 120, hey, that's another $1 billion he can cash out. He can keep doing this forever.
Quick question for you guys. Yeah. If ESPN lands the NBA rights, do you see Disney stock going up from that?
Not significantly. It's such a small part of Disney's overall business. Like every little thing of it lands, but it's not core business.
Yeah. We've got some comments on this. So we've got one from Olaf, our fantastic moderator in the chat, for $3. Says the stock rose more when Peltz gained more support for the board. Yet when he didn't win, he gained from the raise before the call. He will do it again, as he is an activist investor nonetheless. I completely agree. I think everyone would agree with that. There's nothing to stop him.
I would certainly hope so, because I also have to say that honestly is the only hope that there is for Disney right now, because Bob Iger, he's not gonna fix anything.
Oh no, God no. Hunter drops in for $5, says I don't trust Peltz, but he has to be better than Iger. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think someone with a personal investment in the company is always better than someone that doesn't have a personal investment in the company, which the Disney board doesn't hold stock. They don't have personal investment in the company doing well. So yeah, like
Peltz held more stock than the entire board combined.
Yeah,
and
it's
also
mad, crazy.
Yeah, and also this is just one little tick of mine. Disney doesn't have a board. They have a board technically and on paper, but functionally, Disney doesn't have a board. And I am frankly amazed that the existing shareholders haven't rioted to the fact that every single individual on Disney's board was not appointed by the shareholders, but was handpicked and placed there by Bob Iger from his personal group of friends and acquaintances. That appears to be to be the major qualification to get onto Disney's board? Does this Bob Iger have something on you, or do you owe him a personal favor because you're his friend, so he can control you? That seems to be the qualification, because none of them, not a single one, are qualified to be there. Their only qualification is that whenever Bob Iger says jump, they'll ask how high. Now, for those that may not be aware, what the board is supposed to do is represent the shareholders and hold the CEO accountable to the shareholders. But this board doesn't do that, which is why I say Disney functionally doesn't have a board, because the only thing this board does is protect Bob Iger from the shareholders, which is the complete polar opposite of what a board is supposed to do.
Of what they need to do.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. I can't believe that the financial jurisdiction in the US hasn't shut down on this already. Only goes to show how deep the corruption goes. I mean, in most other places, like if this was the UK, Disney would have been put under administration.
Yeah, that's true.
Usually, I mean, that is surprising too. I didn't really know any of that detail.
Oh, it is. It's true.
But it's. I'm sure it is. It's absolutely remarkable. Usually, well, there should be mechanisms in place. For example, the shareholders, if enough of them get together, they can sort of force an EGM, an extraordinary general meeting, and sort of put things to votes. But there's also other ways for a company to sort of thwart that if they want to. There's,
exactly.
So it is remarkable that a company as big and as essentially rich as Disney has been able to sew that up so well. It is remarkable.
It's Bob Iger, little politic guy, basically.
Yeah, well, basically his backers are I mean, BlackRock's firmly in his pocket, or the other way around. I mean, just look at J.P. Chase Morgan. They even came out and endorsed him from the proxy battle. And if you look at what the head of J.P. Chase Morgan has done other places, he's talked very warmly about ESG and stakeholder capitalism. I think that's a big reason why those big institutional shareholders are so happy with what Iger is doing and protecting him so much, because he's basically practicing shareholder capitalism that they're all about. And the regular shareholder has no idea, because they have no insight into what the hell is happening at the board.
Yeah. We've got to shuffle on a little bit now. Sorry.